So like I said, we'll go over race management today, connecting to orbits and Westhold points and paying the 1099 report. Yesterday, we took a look at getting started, season management, some of the fantasy stuff, the suspension stuff, a few of the settings. Tomorrow we'll look at online tickets, our advanced ticketing features, news, and website tools. But today, like I said, going to be race management. So I will share my screen and we'll get started here. So race management, again, race night stuff. So a lot of this is going to be pretty straightforward, but we'll go through it basically tab by tab, and feel free to ask any questions that you might have. First off, the first thing you'll see is the setup tab. Setup is the default page that you come to when you initially come to race management. Race management will open, the next event chronologically in order by default. You can filter to other events that way. But in the setup tab, what you're deciding is how you want the program to handle the pill draw and how you want it to handle transponder options. So I leave mine at check-in auto draw because it makes it a one-step process for me. It's easier, it's faster. But there are options for auto draw before you find a driver, auto draw after the driver is entered, and then also manual entry options as well. So you can do whatever you'd like there. But again, I leave it at the auto draw when I find a driver. Transponder options, pretty self-explanatory stuff there. Do you use transponders? If so, do you have a stock of transponders that folks can rent from you if they don't have one? So most people are going to be used transponders allow rentals. So that's what we'll look at first here. You can save all of these things as defaults on a class-by-class basis. So I can, again, save as defaults here. And then you really should only have to look at it once a year, to be honest with you, unless you're doing something different on a special night. The redraw pill. There is really... there's not a lot of folks who use the rebase pill. Callie, do you have a lot of tracks that use the rebase pill?
We have more and more all the time. It is an option. Some people are really worried about fumbling with the numbers during draw. And if that's the case, you can do a redraw number 1 pill at the pit meeting and then do your lineup that way. I know I have been asked about it numerous times and thought maybe it was a quick something you could go over.
Okay. So if you want to manually override the pill that has been selected by the program with something else, is that what you're talking about?
Yes, at the pit meeting, you do a rebase. So you randomly pick, if your numbers go 1 through 100, at the pit meeting, you randomly redraw and you pick a number 25. 25 sure. Becomes a new number 1. Okay,
Dakota, do you have something on that?
No, I was just going to say exactly what Callie just did. So it's just changing that rebase number to whatever is going to be the new number 1.
Sure. So I was thinking about something we did for Super Nationals. So I was thinking of the wrong thing. Yeah, that rebase pill is basically what Callie described. Our pills are 1 through 100, but if you want your lowest pill, your first pill to start at a random point, you can decide what you want that rebase to be, put it in there, and that can be a manual entry draw or whatever else, and it'll assign the next lowest number after what you put for the rebase pill as what your low pill draw number is. So 1 isn't the bottom pill draw number, basically. That's really all there is to it. Do we need any more clarification on that? I'll be honest with you. I have not ever personally used that feature.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, I will take your word for it.
Challenge Series does it. Challenge Series does it every time, and you don't get anybody yelling at you at draw. We find out the new pill number, and away they go, and you do the lineup.
Perfect. Yeah. I'm actually going to consider that moving forward. That's a really good idea because people yell at me about low or high pill draw numbers all the time. We actually have a report that exists out there to show you everybody's average pill draw number. So the rebase pill could be a nice way to get around that complaint. So I like it. Yeah, so there's that. I'm going to jump to the entry screen here next. Entries, the process of putting the driver into an entry list. I know that there's a class for today's event that I haven't used yet. I think it's Sport Compact, so we will use Sport Compact. And actually, this is going to be a bad example. I have to do this a different way. Let me add the WISSOTA Midwest mod class so you can see this. So I'll go to entries, and I'm going to go to that WISSOTA Midwest mod class so you can kind of see what this looks like. I'm going to use the Sport Compacts for everything, but I just want to show you an example of an entry here. 3 different ways to find a driver. First, you'll see this My Competitors list on the left. This is just going to be a list of drivers who have raced with you before in that class or have registered in that class. So basically, you're looking at your most common folks. You can use the filter option at the top of the screen to type in a number and filter your list by that number, however you'd like to do that. But this is basically just a list of people who have raced with you or registered with you in that class. There's a search option at the top of the screen as well. Search, just what it sounds like. It's an active search. So you start typing in the name and it brings up a list of search results. You really shouldn't have very many drivers that don't have a profile. Any driver who's ever raced at any track that uses My Race Pass will already have a profile. Any driver who hasn't raced at any My Race Pass track but has registered either with WISSOTA or with you will already have a profile. So it'll be pretty rare to create one, but there is an option to create new here if you need to. Like I said, pretty rare.
Be very careful when you're creating a new one. I do not want any duplicates.
Yeah. Yes. That I don't want any duplicates either because I fixed them. And that sucks. If you do come across a duplicate, please send it to me so that I can fix it. Send it to support@myracepass.com. And that's the second way to find a driver. Third way to find a driver is anybody who has a WISSOTA license will get the hard card, or anybody who has claimed their profile will have their hard card barcode in the app. But there's a barcode scanner either on that card or in the app. Click scan barcode, use a barcode scanner to scan their card or their phone, and that bypasses the search process. So it's no longer a pain in the neck. Pretty simple there. And actually that houses all of their data as well. So it's really valuable from a driver perspective. But I'm going to search for my name and enter myself into this entry list. Perfect. This is why I wanted to use the WISSOTA class here, because it will show me, and this is not what I wanted it to do. Are my WISSOTA Midwest mods not technically Midwest mods? Is that what's going on here? Let me look at this a different way. I know that's good, so I'll do that. You know why? It's because you haven't marked my event as sanctioned, so it's not a sanctioned event at this point. That's what it's doing. Okay, well then never mind on my thing that I wanted to show you. So this, when you're entering a driver into the entry list, this is what comes up. This is the screen that you're looking for at this point. So I'll just do it all under Sport Compact. So what you see here, there are 4 things that we need to put somebody to an entry list. Really 4 pieces of information that we have to have. First, pill draw number. If you have pill draw number selected, I had it set to auto draw, so it automatically drew me an 89. So that's my pill draw number. The box is grayed out. I can't edit that box. That just is what it is. If you selected a manual entry process, you would type the number there, obviously. But otherwise, that's the pill draw number. Second thing is car number. Number on the side of the car, really self-explanatory there. The only thing about that is the program will not allow duplicate car numbers on a per class basis. So if I go in there as 23, somebody else shows up and says I'm number 23, you'd have to put like an X or an initial or something like that behind their number. Third thing is car owner. Car owner only comes up in 2 situations. One, if you're doing owner points, which I know is very rare anymore for most weekly racetracks. But 2, if someone other than the driver is getting paid, which will be a much more common occurrence. So if somebody other than the driver is getting paid, you do a search. It'll list all of the car owners that person has ever had. You can jump over to all owners and search through our entire database of owners to find the right car owner option. If you need to add a new one, you can add a new one over here. All you really need is the name, the kind of car it is, those types of things. So like name, number on the car, kind of car it is. But there we go. I'll put in that car owner information. Mark it as default if they're going to use that every time. Same with number, same with transponder. Otherwise, if the payout's going to the owner, use the payout goes to owner box to signify that. Fourth and final thing that we need in this screen is the transponder number. Transponder number, again, program won't allow duplicates on a per class basis. So in one class, two drivers can't have the same number. You can mark that they're using the default if it's their own transponder. You type in the number, mark it as default. If they're renting a transponder from you, there is a transponder rented box here. And there's a report that you can run at the end of the night to show you everybody who rented a transponder from you. But those are really the four things that we need to put somebody to an entry list. PIL, car number, owner, and transponder number. There's a lineup override option here as well that I'll show you. Lineup override, if you have somebody who needs to start in the back for the heat races or for all races, you can use that option to start at the back for heats or for all races. Payment amount, payment method, and contingency information you more than likely won't see just because it's a partner-only feature and it's something that we really only have turned on for like Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series, and that's it. So you really won't see that. And then there's no reason to really make anybody inactive. So keep that active competitor checkbox checked. On the left, you can see their confirmed memberships, which is just the registrations they filled out. So if you need to, verify that they've registered with you or not, you can use that to do it. And then there is also the has all forms checkbox. Remember, we marked an option for downloads and registrations yesterday. You can use that to signify if they have turned in those forms or not. So the one thing you're not seeing on the screen is the options for bypass competitor, a bypass license, or run with a temporary license for WISSOTA. So if you've got a driver who has registered, who has not registered with WISSOTA, who does not have a WISSOTA license, you'll see options on this screen for allow driver to compete with the temporary license or bypass the license process. And let me turn on our own individual license check so you can see that. There we go. I did that for 410 wing sprint cars. So I'll do that. Come back to 410 wing sprint cars. Enter a driver who hasn't registered. So this says this entrant does not have a confirmed membership. And under licenses, you'll either allow the entry to without a confirmed membership or purchase a temporary license. So if they have not registered, you'll have one of those.
I believe if you are not sanctioned with WISSOTA that night, I don't have your class sanctioned for the event, you will not see those also, correct?
That's correct, yes. And that's why I got super confused at the beginning of this, because I added a WISSOTA class, but this didn't come up. It's because you hadn't sanctioned it.
If you don't see those, if something happens, you better let me know right away. In the contract for WISSOTA, a track will be fined $50 if the WISSOTA does not have your race or your class sanctioned by check-in of that night.
So we'll keep a close eye on that. But that's how you can see that stuff. So I'm going to go back to my Sport Compacts. I'm just going to add 10 cars to my race. And we will go through that way.
Hey, Austin, while you're at that, a couple of things in the chat people were asking about. Could you mention the MRP cards on their phone as a scan option, and what it looks like if you duplicate a transponder number inside the class?
Yeah, perfect. So if you do a duplicate transponder number, I'll do one. You know what? I've got 002 in there already. Yes, I want to save. So if you try to enter somebody, I had speed entry turned on. That was not good. So if I 1002, I got a duplicate transponder here, and I go to add. It says the transponder number is already taken, highlights the box in red. Same thing occurs for car number. If you do that, let's see, I got 25 in here, 25. If you do that for car number, number is already taken, highlights it in red. So you get errored out right away. And then, yes, the same MRP card barcode that exists on their card, if they've claimed their profile, will appear in the app as well. So that shouldn't see that all that often. And I think that should be it. Cool. So now I've got my entry list in. We've got 10 cars racing here tonight. I'm going to jump to the races tab next. Races will basically be where you're starting to set your format for tonight. So you can add the race types that you're running here. So I'll add races. With my 10 cars, I'll just run one heat race and one A feature just because it's more simple. You can put in the laps here. That will also transfer over to your live timing platform, not just the entries and the lineups, but the laps here will as well. If you're running anything that has qualifying, do not put the number of laps in for that qualifying race. I know in one of the timing platforms, I think it's Westhold, that if you put a 2 in there for qualifying, after the first car is done qualifying, it will checker flag the race automatically, and that's not what you want. In Orbits, there's like an option for that, but you just want to try to avoid that. So put in your laps. That's totally fine. Just don't do it for qualifying. Other things you can do on the screen, rename your races. So if you have to have a last chance showdown instead of a B main, or if you run time trials instead of qualifying, you can rename that. There is a sponsor field here as well. So sponsor exists here. And then, the transfers is the next big thing. If you're going to run a passing point show, you want to change your transfers to from group, because now we're grouping all of the heat races together. And then, so you basically, you got 20 cars coming from all the heats, and, it's no longer 5 per race to the A main or whatever. But otherwise, transfers per race, if you're not running passing points, and you just I'll transfer all to the A feature, but you can set a number of cars that you want to per race to go to the next race. So if we're running qualifying, all would go to the heats. If I have like 30 cars, I can take the top 5 from each heat to the A, everybody else to a B, those types of things. Quick rundown on double heat race format. At that point, we're just going to add an even number of heat races. So if you have enough cars for 3 heats, you'd put in 6 total heats. And then what I do is I take the second half of them and just rename them round 1 heat 1, or round 1 heat 1, round 1 heat 2, so on and so forth. And then round 2 heat 1, round 2 heat 2, round 2 heat 3, that kind of a deal. So you can more easily do that. And I'll actually do that. I'll run a passing point show with a double heat race format. So save. And next I'll go to lineups. Got a question in here. If you don't want the lineups to go to the app yet, you actually do that in this screen. So when I calculate lineups, I'm going to, there's a couple of options here. WISSOTA heat race would be, there's a little question bubble here to take you to the actual WISSOTA lineup options detailed on the website. But these will be for your WISSOTA invert, your WISSOTA point invert heat races. If you're doing, based off of pill draw, heat race from pill draw, if you ran qualifying, heat from qualifying, all of that type, all of those types of things. There's an all lineups option where you can see all of our lineup options. But again, the WISSOTA one exists. You should be able to put it in my lineups. Now, if we're running a 2 heat race format, we're actually going to co-opt one of our karting heat race options for this. It's called karting 4, 6, 8 heats. Basically, the competitors will run an even number of heats. We say the competitors will run 2 heats. Second heat is an inversion of the first heat pill draw. So I'll calculate, and what you'll see is that heat 1 has all 10 cars this way based off the pill draw. Heat 2 has an exact invert of those 10 cars. So if you're running 4 heats, the drivers will be pill drawed into heat 1 and 2, and then heat 3 and 4 will be an invert of heats 1 and 2, if that makes sense. So you can do all of those things that way. And that's a pretty valuable tool there. Now, when I'm calculating, I forgot to show this. When I'm calculating lineups, there is a checkbox here for set races to public. So if I uncheck that and calculate, I actually have to choose a lineup option. If I check that and calculate, now my lineups are saved here, but they're not actually in the app until I go back and calculate again and make them public, or I can also go down here and save as lineups. And once I save as lineups, that will make them go public. So when you calculate, you can take away that checkbox to make sure that they don't go public, to answer your question, Jackie. And then when you're ready for them, just save as lineups over here, and they'll be in the app, all set and ready to go. Speaking of the app, that's how people most efficiently find the lineup options. So that's a valuable tool. There's also a lineup monitor screen that we have under our tools section that will automatically show all of the lineups that you have calculated. I've got some in 2 classes, and it auto refreshes every 30 or so seconds. So every time you calculate new lineups, they'll show up on this screen. But every time you mark that race is completed, that lineup option will fall off of this screen. We also put in the feature to have the format information over on the left-hand side from the races data. So again, for my sport compacts, everybody will go to the A feature. There's 2 heat races, there's 1 A feature, all of that kind of stuff. So they can see how many cars transfer to each event that you're running. Those types of things.
This is what you would put up in your tech shed or somewhere around your place on a TV, so that even at your lineup area, if you can get a TV or something in there, this is what you would put up there. So all the drivers that are coming up to look at their spots, they can see this whole thing.
Yes, absolutely. The next question then becomes, how do I get this information into live timing? I'll do my heat race timing through Westhold. So let me pull that up here. But you use MRP Live to do that. There's an MRP Live tab, and you would download and install the application with this link on the same machine that your live timing system is running on, whether that's Orbitz or Westhold. Same machine there. That allows all of your entry and lineup data to get into your live timing platform, so you don't have to duplicate that entry process. That allows the results to come from Westhold or Orbitz back into my race pass in 1 click. And then it also allows the live timing and scoring to work in the app, so people can see lap times and things of that nature. So I pull up Westhold here. I've got a blank race in Westhold, and I pull up MRP Live. Now, to connect the two is very simple. When we get to the point where we're doing our feature, I'll close Westhold and open Orbitz. So if you're at Orbitz track, you can see that, but I'll do it in Westhold first. Connecting the two, very simple. There's an IP address and a port number listed in the setup tab of Westhold. So here's my IP address. Here's my port number. The port number is pretty much always going to be 50,000. Very rare that it deviates from that. It's going to be 50,000. IP address, it'll be listed here. As long as you're using the same machine every race night, the IP address shouldn't change either. So you put it in once, select your timing system, and you're good. The only thing that does change on a race-to-race basis is this connection code. Every event in my race pass will generate its own unique and specific connection code. I'll copy and paste that in there. I'll press connect, and I should be connected then to Race Manager. So now all I have to do is press Get Lineups, and all of my information will be in Race Manager. So now as I come to the Assign tab for all 3 classes that I have on that event that I have entries for, you can see all of the competitors list. I'll use the competitors list to time hot laps. And then I got my heat races in there as well for my sport compacts, heat race number 1, heat race number 2, all the transponder numbers, the car number, driver name, all that kind of stuff. It all came over into Westhold. So we don't have to think there. It just is. So I will time heat race number 1. Restart. And start. And we'll get a fake race in. We'll give them 2 laps for our heat race here. And there we go. We have a fake race. So I'll checkered flag and stop as you normally would. And then when I come back to my race pass, I'm in the results tab now. All I have to do is import the results. So you can see my last pending race up here, or you can click the MRP Live button to select what race you want to import. Doesn't matter. Do the import that way. And there's my results. So this is where DNF, DNS, DQ, or black flag is marked. NPP is here for no passing points. So if you have a driver who you want to award finishing points in your passing point show, but not passing points, you can do it that way. So I'll save that as completed. You can share your results to social media with this button. There's a media format button as well where I can copy and paste my results if I need to. Typically, I only do that for the A main to put it at the bottom of a news article. But there we go. So I can come back to Westhold. I can grab heat race number 2, and I can time heat race number 2. Again, we'll get a very exciting heat race number 2 in for our 2 laps. And there we go. So checkered flag, stop. Heat race number 2 is done. Same process. Coming back to results, flip to heat race number 2. Yep, I got Sport Compact Heat 2 up here. Import that. We're good to go. So there is all of that. So what you'll find is on race night, this becomes a repetitive process. You know, you do your entries first, and then after your entry list is done, you know, you calculate your heat race lineups, and I'm going to import those heat race lineups to live timing. I'll time all of my heat races. When that's done, I can come back to features. I can calculate my 8 feature lineups, import those to live timing. Then I can time all of my 8 features. So really, it's just a repeat process. You know, you lineups, push to live timing, score results. Lineups, push to live timing, score results. Just that over and over and over again. And that kind of handles that. So I'll calculate my lineups here for the 8 feature. I think I was doing it based off passing points. So there's options here for straight up, WISSOTA opening night feature options, the point average option for WISSOTA. But I was going to do it based off of passing points. So I got to go find that one. Heat passing points ties to low pill and calculate. I will turn on the WISSOTA passing points option. Let me change something on my screen quickly so I can see it. There we go. WISSOTA passing points, 2 1/4, calculate, boom. There's my feature starting order. There is a how is this calculated option up at the top of the screen. There's also a passing points report that you can run. Basically does the same thing for you, but you can actually start to see the passing points for each car, so you can verify the lineup is correct. I actually like the report for passing points a little bit better because I can select what I'm doing, and then it'll give me a little bit more information, the race order, all that kind of stuff. So passing points exists here for a double heat race format. Now I'm going to close Westhold and disconnect from MRP Live so I can show you what that process looks like for importing into Orbits. So I'll open up Orbits here. Orbits 5.9, perfect. And the connection process is very simple. From Orbits to Race Manager, it's still IP, port, and connection code. So in Orbits, then instead of a setup tab, there's a distribution tab, a little bit cleaner interface. But again, IP address and port number. Port number is always 50,000. If you're using passing points, do we still need to back out the DNFs or DQs before generating the passing point report so it's correct? Yes, Jackie, that annoying thing still exists. Dakota, I think you had a ticket into the development team on that. Do you have any update on that?
No, I am looking into it a little bit now because I just had one other person email asking about that. So I got to see where that's at currently. That's one of those items that is kind of a really tough situation for us in that some places do it the way that WISSOTA does, where you would need it before, and other places do it the exact opposite way. So it's kind of one of those tricky spots that we can almost need 2 different reports in a way there. But hopefully by tomorrow afternoon, I should have an update on that.
Cool. Okay. But MRP Live and Orbits, the same thing. All you're really doing is taking the IP and port from a different place, selecting Orbits here. The connection code is still the same, so I'll connect. And then because I use the same event all the time in Orbits for every demo that I do, I have to delete the classes from the last time I did this. There we go. And so instead of automatically appearing in the interface like it does in Race Manager, I actually have to import them. So I have to go to MRP Live and press Get Lineups, and then I can import my groups and runs. My groups are the classes. So when you import the groups, it imports all the class data. You should only have to do that once a night. You really only have to import classes once, unless you make a bunch of changes to your entry list, then re-import. But the runs are the individual races. So every time you have new lineups created, go to runs, calculate, and there we go. So I've got my Sport Compact 8 feature ready to be timed here. Do you have something, Dakota?
Not yet. No, I apologize.
No, I thought I heard you talking. My bad.
Cameron does have your question, and they're ready for you whenever.
So when you email Callie@wissota.org, it says, "Here's your question. What year did WISSOTA start using My Race Pass?" When you email Callie, put in your first and last name, the track that you're with, and then later on in the training, which we're almost done here, we will answer that question for you. And then you can put the answer in there. But I will go ahead and get ready to time my A feature here, which means that in Orbits, there is a track simulator where you actually get to watch the fake race, the greatest fake race of all time. Assuming, of course, I win. So while that's running, I actually want to show you one other tool in my race pass. It's under the MRP Live tab. It's the lap viewer. I would strongly recommend that you put this information in front of your announcer, the screen in front of the announcer. And I'll just kind of show you this. So it has the running order, obviously, the best lap view. So if you have any races with the name hot laps or practice or test and tune or time trials or qualifying or anything like that, it'll show in the best lap view. If you can switch to the positions gained view so you can see the plus minus. There's an average lap time view, which is new as of the middle of last year. So the average lap time through the race, and then the average lap time over the past 3 laps. Then also a lap leaders view, so you can see how many laps everybody's led throughout the race as well. So some of those things pretty valuable to have in front of your announcer. All of this information also gets put into our API that can be sent to your broadcasters. So all of this information will be in your broadcaster tools as well. So Speed Sport affiliates or Flow or Dirt Vision or whoever, they can start to show this information on your television broadcast also. So I will then stop this race and back to regular Orbits, checkered flag and stop. Same process. A feature 1 is done. So now when I come back to my race pass, same thing. Go to the results tab. A feature 1 is up here ready to be imported. And there's the import, and I'm good to go. And that's pretty much a race night.
Do remember, sorry, just make sure you remember to put in the DNFs and stuff like that, because it doesn't pull it over with it.
Yeah. Put in your DNF, DNS, DQ, or black flag here. Why doesn't the competitor stick in Orbits database? To be honest with you, I don't know. I assume it's something to do with the integration with Orbits. We work with Bolton and those guys a lot on it. Dakota, do you have any, information? I know you use Westhold primarily in your day job.
Yeah, I don't have any answers on that one. I'm not entirely sure I know exactly what Jackie's referring to there.
Orbits can have a huge database of drivers.
Yeah, that I knew. I guess I don't know what she means by them sticking there.
So when you do the import of your groups and runs, the stuff that you import in your groups and runs does not update the Orbits database. Is that correct?
Oh. Jackie, is that kind of what you were meaning there? You have to import competitors as well. I was just wanting to tell everyone how. So yeah, when you first initially get going for the night, the first thing you want to do is import your groups, which would be all of your competitors, and then your runs afterwards. Once you do that the first time throughout the night, you should only really need to be importing runs from that point forward. Okay. Basically, think of that groups as creating that database nightly, since it could be different at all times.
Sure. So you're talking when you're looking at your competitor database, you actually have to import the competitors down here to update the database as well. Is that kind of what you're that's what you're going for? Yep. Okay. All right. Yes. So if you want to continue to update your competitor database, import competitors down here to have it update from the database. So there we go.
With that, Austin, really quick, if you go back to the MRP live screen in MRP, to answer Linda's question there, the running order versus best lap, and not to the actual MRP live tab in race management.
Sure.
Yeah.
The default, the keywords. I see what you're saying. Yeah, that will answer Linda's question. Linda, if you want your running order or best lap to flip automatically, anything that you put in this keywords field will then become the trigger that flips it from running order to best lap in the app or on your browser version.
However, please please, and I beg, please, again, do not leave what everybody at MRP is referring to as the Dakota comma at the end of the keywords, because it will change every session to best lap. So
Yeah.
don't leave an empty comma at the end. It should just end with the word.
Yes. Don't put another comma here, because the program will assume this white space means everything else. Yeah. Yes. Cool. There was one other one in there. I think that was all the questions. Okay, cool. There we go. So from there, I'll jump to points and pay here next. Our races are done, so we're going to calculate our points and pay groups. So when I add points or pay, the point scheme that you would use is obviously the WISSOTA national scheme, if it's a WISSOTA sanctioned event. Otherwise, you can use whatever other scheme you've created for your non-sanctioned classes. Pay scheme, you would create a pay scheme up in the settings that we looked at yesterday. You can create pay schemes up there. In this screen, you can decide what schedule or schedules you want to apply your points to. You can select if you're applying points to competitors, owners, or teams, and then add at that point. And now your points and pay should be done. You really shouldn't have to do anything to your points. It should be calculated automatically here.
Please
actually,
talk
I think,
to them.
Callie, you frown on adjustments, correct?
Hate adjustments. Please go back one screen. The little blue check marks. Please talk about that.
Oh, yes. If you have anybody who is ineligible to receive points or pay, you can here remove the check mark. And then there are options at the bottom to where if I remove the check mark from Chaz, because that's a stupid name, you can award next points position to the next eligible competitor that way. So basically everybody would move up a spot. Otherwise, if you did not leave this checked, 8th place or whatever place Chaz finished just wouldn't have anything there. And the driver in front of him would get credit for 7th, and the driver behind them would get credit for 9th. So that's kind of how those things work.
In the WISSOTA world, you will uncheck the points. If for some reason Chaz, because of his name, was DQ'd for conduct, you will uncheck that, put him at the bottom on results, and then it will come in with 0 points. That's how I want you to do it. If someone is DQ'd for conduct, they do not get any points for the full event. Thank you.
Yep. So go ahead and calculate there. And you'll see that for, yeah, there it is. Chaz got 0 because of that. You can still pay him if you want.
In my world, you do need to go back to your finishes and put him at the bottom. You need to make sure he isn't in the 3rd place or whatever anymore. Pull him to the bottom.
Yeah, mark as DQ'd, pushes him to the bottom, and then when calculating points or pay, yeah, remember to uncheck the box. So
0 points. When you uncheck that box, it will give him 0 show points, and that's what you're looking for.
Yep, perfect. You can still make adjustments to your payout if you need to in this screen. So if he's going to get a $100 bonus for being the hard charger, I can do that and resave. So you can make your adjustments to your payouts. Otherwise, everything should be automated with the point stuff. Last step then is this create payments button. Create payments will take you to this season management payments tab, where you can select the default payout type for everybody, or you can change the payout type for each individual if you need to. You can print checks from this screen. So create checks, put in the check format, and we can help you out with the check format. Enter the starting check number and create the checks that way. Boom, 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 print. We can also print a report that I use for drivers signing for their pay at the window. So a list of payees over here. If the payee is a car owner, driver name in parentheses, the amount that they were paid, the check number, and I have them just sign in the white space. So just so I know who's grabbed checks and all of those types of things. You can print mailing labels from this screen as long as you have their addresses on file. Print mailing labels there. And then there's an export here for QuickBooks. So if you use the desktop version of QuickBooks to track your financials, click this QuickBooks export button, and there you go. The payout information is in QuickBooks as well for that class. And then I like to say you can shut the lights off and go home, but I know it's not that easy with race car drivers. Last thing I'll show you here is the 1099 report. 1099 report, we looked at it for a short time yesterday, but really it's just a summary for every payee, whether it's an owner or a competitor, their address and the amount of earnings that they've had. There's also an option on this screen that you can see on a night-by-night basis for each person, how much they made every night and their total. So if you do need to verify anything, or go ahead and you can audit that list. The create payments options are up here at the top of our report now. That's a fairly new feature. So if you forgot to create payments anywhere, you can press create payments up here to fix that. And then recently in our help center, I wrote an article and did a 8-minute video with a tax software that we call W2Mate. That actually shows the process of exporting that list to the 1099 report to Excel, uploading it into W2Mate, and using that to either A, print your 1099s, or B, export them as PDFs, send them to your tax office for them to print, depending on if you got the paper. So I'm going to put that link here into the chat. And that, again, I did a video there. I think it's valuable. I hope it's valuable, or it's, an hour of my life that I'll never get back recording and editing that. But hopefully that is, hopefully that's doable for you. The temp license report again. Yes. There is a report here in our reports tab that is the temp license and the bypass membership report. Whether you bypass membership or did a temporary license, if you're using registration to track your own facilities licenses, you can use this, or there has been a new feature added for checking sanction bypasses as well, or temp licenses. So in this screen, you'll see competitor, hometown, and then there's nothing here. If it was a WISSOTA sanctioned bypass that you did, it would show WISSOTA right here. If it's just your tracks, then it's just this one. But you can use the temp license report or the bypass membership report to track both your tracks license bypasses and sanction license bypasses as well. And that's what I've got to go over here.
Dakota?
Yes.
I am looking back at the top. Amy Brown had a question about redraw.
Oh, yeah. I said that to the wrong person. I apologize. So
let's go over that.
What was the question here? Sorry, I got to find it here again. I was thinking it was a different person that asked it, so I apologize. So 90% of the time we have multiple heats in all of our classes with all cars transferring to the feature, but we only redraw, say, the top 4. Is there a way to set this up? I do it manually, but it'd be nice to not have to.
There's a very easy way to do that. Let's show her.
In this case, are you referring to, say, just the top 4 in the A you're redrawing in a certain way? Is that?
I would say probably multiple heats, top 4 in each heat. Is that what you're saying, Amy?
Yes, that is what she's saying. So say you had 3 heats, you'd be inverting the top 12 or redrawing the top 12.
Yes.
That would just be in your A feature lineup screen there. You can use the, as Austin gets to it, the lineup options.
So there's, if you're doing that and redrawing the top however many you want, you're going to set your lineup in the way that you typically would, whether it's point average or straight up from heats and Bs, or however you're going to do that. And then there's the lineup options area where you can either redraw or invert. And if you need to invert the top 4 from each heat, they will probably be the top 12 starters in whatever lineup format you have. So I can just invert 12.
This would be redraw.
This would be a redraw. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah. So then redraw, and I'll just redraw my top 6 here. And you can either do it one at a time, or I can auto redraw them all one at a time, or auto redraw them all at once and save. And there's my redraw order.
So say, Amy, you have 2 heats. If for WISSOTA, 2 heats, top 4, you'll be redrawing the top 8. MRP, if you go for WISSOTA A feature for that lineup, it should automatically redraw that for you if you're having a special. You will redraw that way. If you have someone new that night that's never been there before, it will also put them in there. MRP should do all this for you. If you get confused or if you need any more on that, let Dakota know. He can help you.
And Kelly, you're referring to the opening night A feature lineup, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that gets used for all draw redraw shows. So if I calculate there, it'll automatically redraw the number that you need to redraw. So cool. Anything else I can answer for you guys?
Aaron has your answer for you.
There we go. Here is the answer. What we've all been waiting for. When did WISSOTA start using My Race Pass? Answer 2017. So email callie@wissota.org. First name, last name, track you're with, and then 2017. And that should suffice.
Please don't forget, we had a bunch of people last night on with us at the 7 o'clock that didn't email me. I need that. That's the only way I am going to give you credit for this session. Your track will be fined $250 if we don't get this. So please make sure you have all of it on there.
Cool. Callie, is tomorrow's stuff required as well or no?
Yes.
Okay. So tomorrow we'll look at online tickets, advanced ticketing features, website tools, and news, and how that all kind of works together. But I appreciate you taking the time out of your afternoon today. Thanks so much for doing this. It helps us. It helps everybody involved. It helps to come together as a community. I'm going to close the recording here. But again, thanks everybody for taking part.
There is one more question that just popped up.
Jackie, it is considered, if you do draw redraw, it is officially considered a special, and Gus, the scheduling director, has to know it. But for you guys, for the track, it just has to be put in your social media somewhere that you are going to do a draw redraw so that the drivers know what's happening at your special. Does that make sense?
I would also encourage you to put it in the event description in My Race Pass.
Yes, for sure. The description box in My Race Pass for everything you do is amazing.
So cool. All right. Well, hey, thanks again, everybody. I've got one at 2 o'clock, so I'm going to duck out of here. But I appreciate the time. This recording will be on YouTube within the coming day or so. But otherwise, if you're coming tonight, definitely come tonight. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you.